Okay, I think we can still call the meeting to order, right?
Yes, sir.
And we do have a quorum, correct?
It looks like it. Yep.
Okay. Okay, well,
Hold.
the-
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
yes,
Okay, 1 second, I'm gonna plug into something else because I can't really hear you, so 1 second.
so Lauren, we're getting ready to move in soon? Or do you guys start to move already?
Well, the maintenance team is doing their piece and getting stuff ready to go. Furniture is pretty much moved in. I think Jacob can correct me if I'm wrong there because he's been monitoring that. We're officially moving the 4th and the 5th, so we're closing down front counter operations so we can have a smooth, calm transition into the new space instead of the chaotic moves that we've experienced in the last 5 moves.
Oh, good.
So, but it looks great.
Yeah, it does. I was excited. Okay. Hope everything's okay, Dom. You might still be going through some challenges. So do we have the agenda to put up? I know it was the 2 things we left off.
Yep, I'm just opening it up so I can put it up for you. Actually, these are the minutes, but I think it's got the remaining items to discuss. Oh, this is not working.
Here I have it. But first action item is Odoo, Odoo, and then the vendor will possibly be on the line as well. I get this. Hold up.
Okay, I'm here. Sorry, I had to call on my cell phone, so sorry about that.
No worries. Also, Sean, do we want to talk about the camera? I know you asked to speak today.
Yep.
Okay, so can I have a second for the agenda to adopt the agenda?
I second that motion.
Okay, awesome. All right, Sean, the floor is yours. It's just before Sean goes. Sean and I joined the finance committee meeting a couple of weeks ago. Sean did an amazing presentation. We spoke to Jim, who got voted as chair, I'm sure Lauren, as you know, and we just talked to them about being in alignment with the technology initiatives and some of their finance for this year and the reserve. So we had a good conversation with them. Just want to make sure the team's more aligned this year. And that was one of our agendas last year, was to work closely with some of the other committees so we can all be on the same page. So I think they very much appreciated it. Jacob, thank you. Jacob was awesome in there as always. And I mean, bottom line, great communication and conversation. So I think that's what we always want. So
Great.
thanks, Sean, for that.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay. With that, if anything else, I'll give Sean the floor.
Cool. Well, thank you, John. Thank you, everybody. Just quick overview is in order. I'm Sean Owens. I'm the chair for the security camera advisory group. And depending on which email header I'm looking at, it either says Security Camera Deployment Advisory Group or just Security Camera Advisory Group. Either way, the acronym doesn't work into something I can make cool or T-shirt worthy. So, I won't belabor that. One of the items that we have within our scope of work is to meet, with several of the committees, finance, master plan, and of course technology, being part of that SOW. And we are still very much in fact finding mode right now. Lauren, Dom, Jacob, and everybody on the management side has done a great job putting together a bunch of docs, for us to go through and comb through. So we're still kind of in this discovery phase right now. We're not in any sort of prescriptive footing yet. We are very much still sussing out who we are as an organization, as a community, from a surveillance and access control standpoint, and what all that looks like. That all said, as John, touched on, meeting with the finance committee, I feel like I really got a good understanding, from a, budget and reserve standpoint, where kind of some of the fingers point, so to speak. And one of the things that, I've noticed, thus far from a planning standpoint, is, there's almost, a lack of, 12-month calendar continuity, on how we design, and intend to do and deploy security, both from a camera standpoint and an access control standpoint. And so, kind of digging into that, we're starting to see some of, the underlying tones of, hey, because there is no continuity and there is no, plan other than the policy. And that's one thing I do want to give, massive props for, the actual policy that governs surveillance, within Celebration is quite strong. It's actually very well written, compared to other places and organizations I've seen. And so I believe the intent is there. I think the right intent and the right structure is there. What we have to do in between and amongst all these committees is really develop that continuity of mission. Beyond just 5-meter break fix targets. What's our actual intent? And one thing I touched on, both in our individual group meeting as well as in the finance meeting, is when we do something, capturing that intent is really important, because what it does for us in the long run is it prevents ad hoc, special advisory groups from having to be, commissioned in order to figure out what that intent was and reconstruct all that. And so whether it's a camera going up into a space just for security purposes, to monitor, and have some accountability around property damage, whatever that initial intent was, is something that really needs to be captured, codified, and wrapped to that deployment. And so years later, when somebody goes and says, hey, why did we put that there? What was the reason behind that? It's codified. We know it. And then we can readdress it. Is it still important now? Is it still necessary now? We should never be in a position where, from a technology standpoint, we're doing things just because we have done them. But the continuity of purpose should be clear from the outset. And so that's something that, I really wanted to kind of get the committee's, take on from a technology standpoint. What is, the guiding principles that you apply to other things in the community? Because as I said in the finance meeting, if I were to take the word security off of these devices and I call it anything else, you would probably treat it differently. There would probably be a different mindset to it. And so, I really wanted to get everybody's feedback on that. And John, I'll kind of start with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, and we asked those questions, and my question would be: is that a board decision? Is that something that's already written? Because when we had the conversation there, just for a quick example, they'd give an example of a camera on Front Street, and that's something like, you're just recording people. But then we brought up, well, what if a car is going 85 miles an hour on Golf Park, which Greg Felix told me they've caught doing before. Some of the finance committee members are like, well, we don't really want to have the outliers to build out our whole security and camera system based on something happens at Lakeside Park, somebody's speeding. unfortunately, if a kid like last year gets hit by a car riding their e-bike. So I think, Sean, that's a great point. Like, I think we all have our own personal feelings around that. And of course the damage like at Artisan Well, but I don't know, Bill, if that's a board decision, if there's something written in bylaws, because again, and Sean said this, we can build out the camera system and the security system that we can record and have everything, right? But again, if there's no appetite for it, if it doesn't meet rules and regulations of what people really want, I think the finance committee kind of feels that way a little bit.
You're muted, Bill.
Thank you. I had the green light down here, but my thing, anyway, I would want to talk with Lauren in management about what kind of policies they've seen in other communities and how far we want to go. And I think the board would take that under advisement on how much farther we would want to take something like that.
Yeah.
I think Sean, I was going to say, Sean, thank you for doing what you're doing, because it's exactly the intent, which was to examine, figure out, get a good calendar going, all those things. So thank you.
Yeah, until we have a baseline, we really don't have anything to talk about. Is what it comes down to. And so, we're either grounded in some sort of principle, we're rooted in some sort of principle, or these devices are just devices and they were just deployed as devices. So understanding what our true north is, that's really critical for us to make sure that we're addressing the needs of the community and the intent of the community all in one.
Would it be a correct statement if I said Artisan has a tighter security policy with their cameras than the rest of Celebration?
Yes, I would say
Okay.
that. Just based on the way that Artisan utilizes the cameras, they see a lot more after hours intrusion into the property than the rest of CROA properties see. So from a CROA facility wide, in terms of intrusion into the property by non-residents in hours they're not supposed to be there, it's a handful a year, if that, since I've been here. From Artisan Park, when I first got here, there were kids jumping the fence on a regular basis, a couple of nights a week, based on my conversations that I had with Tom and when Jose was here, and we were setting up the fence boundaries and all the notifications. So, I mean, right now, the way CROA is using the cameras is more of a property, not, I don't want to say security, but a property protection thing. If somebody comes in and damages facilities, we want to know who did it so we can hold them accountable after the fact. It's not a live security measure where I get a notification the second somebody steps in Lakeside, after hours, and then we're deploying, officers out there. That's not how we're using it right now, because that's not the need of CROA at this point in time. But then again, that's going to come down to a board policy. Do you want to proactively have a security system like that? I will say management cannot manage that proactive monitoring. Or do you want to just have the more passive property management, monitoring who's damaging it, so then later we can address it with law enforcement.
And Lauren, that raises a really good point on the proactive, reactive, kind of breakdown, of this, because it can't, sometimes it's one or the other, sometimes it's a little bit of both in practice, is typically how it works out for most organizations. I know that there was some talk of Fusus integration with the Osceola County Sheriff's Department. Is that still ongoing right now?
So Dom and I met with the Fusus lead with the Sheriff's Department. Most CROA facilities don't really provide them benefit, or CROA cameras don't provide them benefit, but what would provide them benefit is targeted locations on the front of amenity centers leading in and out of each village. So like East Village Amenity Center pointing straight down East Lawn, Heritage Hall pointing straight out the front, Obviously, town hall. Town hall's kind of a hotbed, and there's a lot of thefts that happen in that parking lot after hours. Um, but really, for Fusus, their benefit would be seen in the Kanoa properties downtown. And I know they had a chat with Lexon a couple of months ago, I want to say, but I don't know where that stands with the Lexon perspective. Because that would really capture a lot of the downtown items. The Croa properties don't really capture a lot of in and out.
Yeah, I'm on the Celebration Community Church security team, and we are engaging Fusus to take on our cameras at that site.
Perfect.
So that's in process.
Yeah, so I mean, if I think that's one thing where maybe this security camera advisory group could, make some recommendations as well as, placing a camera here on East Village, here on North Village, in these targeted locations to connect in with Fusus to kind of create that that feeling of security while still maintaining kind of that current passive aspect in the community from a Croa property perspective.
Yep. No, it's, it truly can be both. And the hybrid model is the right model. It is the right path where as a community, as an entity, we retain control and authority as an organization. We give the sheriff's department access to what's pertinent for the sheriff's department, because at the end of the day, it aids our community. And I just had this same discussion with TPC Sawgrass. How much do you want to share? Is eventually the discussion point that you get into, and there's reasons that you don't share everything, and opinions therein, but there is always a happy path somewhere in the middle that says, hey, what's necessary, what's prudent, what is ultimately a benefit to the community, that law enforcement knows this quickly and has access to it. That's where there's value, and so that's normally the middle ground that you see everyone gravitate towards in these discussions. But I think you're right, and I think what you and Dom called out as kind of those ideal placements on the front of amenities where you get the most traffic, where there's real opportunities to be able to help in a pinch. I think that's all realistic. Tom, I'd be interested to get your feedback as well, on just overall from a surveillance standard and access control standard. Where do you see the community today? Where do you think it should go?
Yeah, and before he answers it, I was going to call him next too, Sean. So the one thing I would say about Artisan, why I brought it up, and coaching and knowing a lot of teenagers in Celebration, it's a deterrent to the kids because they know Artisan has higher level security. So the kids know that, right? So I think that's part of it as well, as far like a narrative around town, that the security level is a little bit higher there. So hand it off to you, Tom.
Well, with respect to what was already said about our Artisan, Lauren was right. We came from a perspective of multiple times per week of what we call the fence hoppers, but we're now down to a few per year. And I wouldn't say what we're doing is proactive. All of it is reactive because a person has to do something before we take any particular action. What's different is about how quickly we do it. If a person jumps the fence, then within a matter of a few seconds, the appropriate people get text messages. Then it becomes a decision of exactly what action we're going to take. Who is this person and what are we going to do about it? So we're on them relatively quickly, and that word gets out. That word travels fast, and therefore it becomes a deterrent unto itself. But they're all reactive. But
Tom, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi, sorry to interrupt. I've been having mic issues. We have Alana, who's from Odo. I know that we had Odo as the first item. I don't mean to stop Sean or Tom on their part. I don't think she needs to hear us talking about our security stuff. Odo is one of the products that we need to get done, and I would like to get her to go home because she is on after hours for us to show you a little bit about Odo. It'll take about 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes at most. So if we can just give her the time and then we can come back to the security camera bit, if that's okay with you all.
I'm good with that. No problem.
Yeah, Dom, thank you. Yep. Sorry about that.
Okay. No, you're fine. I didn't really want to interrupt, but it's very interesting, the fence hoppers, because when I was 16, I was definitely a fence hopper. So good that there's now security cameras out there, or bad for them. But anyways, would someone be able to give me access to sharing the screen for here?
Let's see.
Yep. Give me a second. Where are you?
You should have it now.
Okay. Let me. Okay, can you guys see my screen that it says agenda, Odoo Philosophy, website 101?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let me turn off. Okay, so we're Odoo. I don't know how many of you guys have met the software itself, but essentially the purpose of today's call is to showcase how easily your residents will be able to manage their HOA responsibilities, activities such as booking tennis courts, all in a single user-friendly platform. And then from an operational standpoint, the goal is to bring everything all into a one centralized system for your team behind the scenes, so they're not relying on multiple disconnected tools to manage the day-to-day operations for Celebrate. So the agenda will go over just Odoo's philosophy, kind of who we are, little background about us, only 5 slides. Then we're going to get into website 101. Booking an upcoming event, calendar bookings, going inside the residence portal so they can take a look at, mass emails and pretty much everything that it's associated to themselves. And then we can end it with questions. Does that sound fair?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, good. So our mission, so Fabian Pinarkers, he's our CEO and founder. The mission is simple. We're here to help companies scale by simplifying their operations and giving users technology that they actually enjoy using, rather than forcing companies to adapt to disconnected systems. So Odoo focuses on creating one intuitive platform that empowers both the business and the people behind it, because if people aren't using it, there's no user adoption, and then there's no, use. So inside of Odoo, we're an all-in-one solution. There's a shift going on from managing multiple disconnected systems to operating through one centralized platform. You might be familiar with running, maybe you work for a company that runs their business on the left-hand side. It gets tedious. All the systems are disconnected. It's very time-consuming. You have to train multiple people on different systems. The ROI gets messy. It works for a little while until you grow and you get bigger. So Odoo takes an all-in-one solution approach where we centralize all of the data and all of the day-to-day operations. So a little bit about us and our product evolution. We started in 2024 and we've grown tremendously. But the key point that I want to note on this slide is our UI. You can see that in 2004, we looked like a software company that was built in 2024. And now in 2026, our UI is very clean. It looks like, your iPhone or Android. So our clients who utilize Odoo, they're never left behind again from a UI perspective. So you're not going to wake up still using a software that looks like it's from 2010. We come out with a new version of the software every year. We dump about 70% back into R&D. We didn't have to buy another software company to get to where we are today. Everything is made specifically by Odoo. And just who we are at a glance, these are just some of our numbers. We have over 18 locations worldwide. We're deployed in 150 plus countries, and we're up to 7,200 employees. So essentially, we're not going anywhere. And then the last slide here just talks about our API. Yes, we are an all-in-one solution. We have 80 plus homegrown applications, but we do also understand that, you know, sometimes, you know, you need to connect to other systems. So Odoo has an open API and a flexible architecture, so it allows businesses to integrate Odoo with other systems, and it's still respecting the logic and permission. So that's just a little bit about Odoo as a whole. Does anyone have questions there? Nope. Okay. So now we're going to get into the database itself. Let's get started. So we just took your website that you have now and just scraped it and put it into Odoo, but our website builder is very simple and straightforward. We have a drag and drop feature system. We also have our own website design team that can help, you know, make this, revamp it, come to life. But in here, you know, you can have your different landing pages that you had. Here's your event calendar. And with the system, once you are a specific user or a resident, for example, you will be able to have your own specific portal. So let me go over here. So now I'm flipping as if I was a resident for Celebrate. And here it shows a whole new landing page. You can have all the different, you know, whatever you guys need really for a website. But for example, if I go into an appointment, I'm going to book a tennis court. And we can see, so I'm Brittany, an HOA member, and I'm logged into my own portal. It tells me that I already booked a tennis court for tomorrow at 9 a.m. So if I look tomorrow in the calendar and I try to hit 9 a.m. again, it won't show me court 5 because that's the court I'm with. Oops, yeah. And then for here, for Wednesday on the 27th, if I hit 9 a.m., it's only showing me court 2, 3, and 4 because I booked court 1 for 9 a.m. tomorrow. So when multiple people are on the website booking different tennis court times, it's all happening in real time with the calendar. And it's very simple. If I want to book court 2, I can go in, type in my name, and then if you have payment, they can pay via credit card, or maybe they get billed at the end of the month. We can have really both options. This is just a demo credit card, but I can hit pay now, and now my appointment is booked. When it comes to events, same thing. You can have all of your events listed right in the residence portal, and we can see that I actually already registered for this private party. But again, very simple, straightforward. You can add it to your calendar. We can register again. Maybe I want to invite a couple more people to this. I'll give someone a ticket name. And then I can confirm registration. Now I can download my tickets. This can be a QR code, so then when the people are scanning at the ticket system, you have your private party event ticket right here, straight from your phone. Now, the last thing that I'll do is I'll go inside of the portal itself. So this will be all of the residents' portal, and they only can see and have access to their information. They can have any payment methods that they have on file, any of their past invoices. We can go into their orders, and we can see that at 5:26, everything is in real time. At 6 p.m., I just booked my tennis court event for 10 a.m. To 11 a.m. at the tennis court. So they'll be able to have all of their historical data. In regards to any type of mail that or emails or mass mails that come to them, that will be listed in their projects. They can take a look instead of, going back in their inbox. They can easily go inside their customer portal. We can see, okay, what was May's newsletter. We can check here. And then if they want to, reply, they can send a reply straight from here. And then the people that are managing the mass mail can communicate. So again, everything is listed inside of their portal. Now, we have some documents as well. This can be where you guys have any type of certification or any type of document that they need to keep track of can be in here, as well as your guys' meeting minutes. We can have it specifically April's meeting minutes. They can check, if it's a video, they can take a look at, May's meeting minutes. So there's a lot of information that they can have just through their portal. And lastly, on the portal itself, we can go to the appointments, and this is where they would have any of their tennis courts or any type of timed condition booking would be all listed here, and they can click, again, add to their agenda or their calendar. They can add guests. They can even go on here and reschedule if this time doesn't end up working for them. And then as everything that's happening in the front end portal, everything in the back end can be automated for sending them automated emails about, these tennis courts being booked or the event is coming up. So the idea of it is that the portal is working with the back end of Odoo as well, all in real time. Does anyone have any questions?
I guess one question I have, do you have, what are the plans for AI extensibility of your products? Do you have access to MCP server integration, or is everything just done through the API?
Yeah, so great question. So actually Odoo is specific with AI. We connect to any AI agent. And we also just deployed Claude Code inside of our Odoo SH repository as well. So if there's anything that you want to build upon on Odoo through AI, we can accomplish that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, it's
think
really.
we have
Oh, sorry, what?
No, you're good. No, I was just gonna.
Oh, I was gonna.
We asked. Yeah, finish up.
Oh, I was just going to say it's most software companies right now are dumping a lot of money into AI, but since Odoo has an open core framework, AI was pretty much able to just connect very easily with Odoo due to it having an open framework.
Excellent. We asked them this question before. So the APIs into Syrinet, into the compliance reporting now, that's all been tested, and that's going to work seamlessly.
So I'll answer the Syrinet piece. Syrinet is a closed backend, so it won't seamlessly interact with that, but it will interact with smart webs that will open up to a connection.
Okay, so all the current systems will work fine in it, though.
Yeah, so
Yes.
SmartWebs itself is also still closed. Their APIs aren't true open APIs. They are working on that, and I think they said something to be end of fourth quarter this year to open up the APIs enough to allow us to see individuals' requests and or covenants, issues, violations, and stuff like that. But it hasn't been confirmed. So once it's open and once they actually have the API calls, we could start working with Odoo to work on the API conversation and opening it up to their portal, to the resident site portal. But until we know, I couldn't give you a complete answer. So what we're doing is just as we do today, we will put a link to SmartWebs and we will put a link to Syrinet So if they are in our website, they can just click on the link and then they just have to log in to SmartWebs and to SierraNet. Obviously, SierraNet won't ever become open at the moment from what we can know, but at least with SmartWebs, we might have a good answer for you by the end of this year. For GoGov is has an open API. We could work with them on that, but it is owned by CCDD. So we'll talk to them about see if they'll allow us to work with GoGov to add the open API towards this product as well.
So would you say this biggest need for this would be to replace Rec Pro?
Yeah, the biggest need is to replace the back end of our website, plus Rec Pro and all the management tools that we currently use today. There is a cost savings with all the tools that we're currently using today, and it's providing us tools that we have not had before. So we'll have added fleet management. We'll have fleet management is going to be our biggest bit, and as well as a centralized location of all the tools we need. And it can replace our current ticketing system for our maintenance crew. So
Okay.
it does have a great benefit to us for management side.
Yeah.
And the ease of website management as well, especially since it's like pretty much one person handling all the website stuff. This will help her and or me when we need to try to troubleshoot something. Currently, we're dealing with constant cyber notices coming in from all the different modules that WordPress is using. So being that this is an enclosed product, the CVEs will be a lot less to manage and worry about. And Odo will be always on top of it, and they will manage a lot of this for us.
Okay.
And from a
Because
security-
Alana, I was just going to say, Alana, from your, yeah.
Sorry. I was just going to say, from a security standpoint, we're actually GDPR compliant, which is Europe's security compliance. So from a software perspective, we are more compliant than a lot of, we're a Belgium-based company first, so we're actually more compliant than a lot of the US-based software companies out there from, data security standpoint.
And that was one of my likes.
Okay. From that slide that Alana showed about the chaotic spaghetti of all the different tools to the one tool. Yeah. So I'll say, and Alana, I work at Apple. I'm an engineer at Apple. The left slide is 100% Apple. We have so many tools and we keep adding more tools and we never know where anything is. It actually makes things harder, not easier. So I love that slide. That's why I want to make sure that we're moving towards that right and not just adding another tool and stay in the chaos of the left part of that slide.
Yeah. So
Dom, I assume that's your goal. Yeah.
Oh, I was
Yes,
just going to
that
say,
is.
Odo's philosophy is where we'll go out of the box first, all in one, and only connect we can connect, but it's only connect when it's absolute necessary. So that eliminates clients from going back into this purpose.
Bill, you're on mute.
Sorry, is not that we need to know details of cost, but more just how the pricing model works. Is it a flat monthly cost or is it a per seat cost?
Yep. So all of the residents will be completely free. So there's free user portal for residents, and then the back end, it's a per seat license, but it comes with every single application. So whether you download one app or all 80 of ours, it's $47 a month per user.
And how are the storage limitations defined?
So there isn't any limitation, but you can. There's two hosting types. There's odoo.com, which is SaaS, and then there's odoo.sh. So typically we'll put, if you have any storage concerns, we'll put people on Odoo SH, and then you would purchase, I think it's like 20 cents per gigabyte of data, but you can also have external storages connected to it as well. So
Great.
Odoo.com, there's a limit, but it's like a theoretical limit. I can get you the exact, it's a lot.
Yeah, our goal with Brittany was to start archiving data that is allowed to be archivable so that we can keep ourselves in that cost conscious mind and lower and not go too much above the limits that we want. We haven't, Lauren and I have not gone over the specifics on how far back we want to keep all the data, and then anything that is archived, we can always put in a request for data button, and we can pull that from an archive so that, we'll in-house storage will always have that information.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I just
in my
looked it up. So
experience-
it's 4 terabytes is the limit.
Okay. Yeah. In my experience, storage is where things start to get interesting.
Yeah, so we have 4 terabyte as the limit, and then you can go to an external cloud storage, which the main ones that we work with is Azure and Google.
Great. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions about the platform as a whole?
Tom, I would be interested in knowing of all of these things that we're currently using that it's going to replace, for you to enumerate what those things are. We heard about the scheduling the tickets on maintenance. That was one item. I take it that the reason we're having this presentation is that you're asking for our opinion. So it would be good to see exactly what it is that this is going to replace in some sort of a list.
Yeah, Tom,
Yeah.
most of that was provided. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lauren.
Oh, I was going to say, we've come up with that list internally. I don't know if it was provided to the tech committee, but we also utilized that list to see what the annual cost of Odoo was compared to what the annual cost of the multitude of platforms that we currently use to accomplish these tasks. And it's pretty much a net zero across the board from a cost perspective, but from a operations perspective, this gives us a lot more benefit, especially on the Parks and Rec side, potentially the website side from what we're seeing in terms of a back end user capability and just the quickness of editing items. So, and then it also provides us with additional platforms for fleet management and other operational items that we don't currently have right now. So we saw it as a net positive from a management perspective. Really what our big concern was from an Odoo perspective, I guess from an upper level management perspective, was, does the tech committee think that this is a viable option for a potential website replacement? Understanding you're just seeing this right now, you're just getting a high-end overview of it, and we can get you more information, but we wanted to start that conversation before we start moving down the road.
Well, one question I have is, once we adopt this and get everything into it, one of the major costs, or one of the major things to consider, is what is it going to cost to undo this if we decide we don't like it? Because with the second we start putting all kinds of documents into some kind of cloud repository, that's going to be sort of like free as long as it's in there. But the second we got to take any of that stuff out is when the cost to pull that out of the cloud into some other container somewhere else can get really cost prohibitive. So
from an Odoo perspective, you guys own your own data. So if you ever, you can download your data at any point and any time. Everything's downloadable and it doesn't cost anything. We won't charge you to do any of that. So you own it all.
I would want to clarify that, because Microsoft and Google charge egress costs for pulling things out of their cloud. So
Yeah,
that's
no, they have that in their documentation. One of the things is what we have when I spoke with working with Brittany is that they will create, with our help, a archival process. So we will pull most any data that comes into our specified archive time into our network NAS and pull that data out. So as long as we say, for instance, we paid for a terabyte worth of data per year, whatever the cost may be, we will be like, all right, it's about to reach a terabyte. It's time to pull out the data and archive it. We will archive it, say maybe once a year or once every 2 years, depending on how fast and how much that data grows.
And I can send you guys over our security documentation, SLAs, or I'm sure Brittany probably already shared all that to you, Dom, but it might be good to share all of that with them so they can kind of do their own deep dive. But that we also have 14 full backups. You can request a backup at any time, things like that.
One of our biggest things as well is the security of the documents. Obviously, we don't have any sensitive financial docs or anything like that anymore on our website, but because the website will be designed correctly and cleanly, the data will be sitting in a subdomain where if you don't authenticate, you ain't getting in unless you're really trying to hack into it. Other than, using proper logins, you will not be able to see the data. So if you're looking for searchable data, you will not be able to search it. It's all internal within that subdomain from our Celebration website.
Yeah, I mean, I
Dom, the
think
one thing
anything
I
at
would-
this point would be an improvement over WordPress. It's kind of getting long in the tooth, and especially with these new AI capabilities to find vulnerabilities, it's just going to be a game of whack-a-mole for a long time unless we move off of it.
Yeah, and we do have about 57 different modules or plugins, I should say. And then there's some other different pieces that are added in as well that are not just plugins. So we're quite up there in pieces that this WordPress has. So with Odo, it will make my security nightmare not so much of a security nightmare.
I would ask, and I don't know if this is our charter, and Tom and I, we've discussed this many times before about the user experience. Is that a technology thing or is that a communications? And I'll give you examples. So like some of the homes that I own with HOAs, like using like Front Step and some of the other websites, finding data and paying your bill becomes so cumbersome. You click on thing, you see how much you got to pay, it takes you somewhere else, you lose that. You really get confused, the user, really quickly when you're hopping from site to site to site just to pay your bill. And again, with this, Dom, I don't know if something that we can walk through that down the road. Is that more of a communication committee bill? But it's always so frustrating as a user when the user experience is just chaotic, and just to pay your bill or look at a document becomes so complicated because it keeps hopping you all over the place.
Yeah.
So
and with
I'll
that
jump in there.
Oh, sorry.
I would say, like, we're looking at the tech committee from a back end perspective right now, but when it comes to UI, we would certainly lean on both the comms and the tech committee to provide input in that point when we're developing the site before we roll out to the community.
Thank you,
To
Lauren.
me-
Appreciate that.
To me, this is very much a technology committee related topic, so I wouldn't pass this just the communications committee at all, 100%. So we definitely have to have
This
some
is
kind
a
of
cooperative,
Yeah, I agree.
communications between the two groups. And basically we're asking, in the document that we sent you, we're asking for your wish lists, your thoughts, and then we give it to the pros to design and give us a mock-up and then go from there.
That'd be great. Thank you, Dom.
Okay, is there anything that you need from me before I go?
No, thank you, Alana. That was awesome, and appreciate the patience in the beginning. And just don't hop any fences anymore.
Those days are over. But thank you guys so much for letting me join and crash your party. I will message Dom the SLAs and different security documents, and then let us know what else you need from me, and always happy to do more proof of concept. So
Thank you.
thank you. Okay.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, Don, for that. Thank you, Lauren. All
You're
right,
welcome.
Tom, you want to go back, Tom, and give us your thoughts, and we can discuss AV?
Well, I don't have much more to say on the security front. I think we all know what we have. I recommend that Sean refer back to the document that we generated last summer, I think, which he was a part of, and kind of use that as our thoughts on the security infrastructure. I think it would be redundant to go through that. But yeah, that's why we have a security advisory committee or whatever they are.
Group, not a committee.
Group to advise us through this. So the only comment I would make to Lauren, though, is unless you're doing what we are or something similar to what we're doing, and I really don't know what Crow is doing at their facilities, you actually don't know if you have what intrusions you're having. Because motion detection would be triggering all the time. Every rabbit and every squirrel and possum and everybody would be triggering this thing. You'd be bombarded with data to look at.
We are.
Okay. So we think we know every time a person enters. Of course, you can never know what you don't know. But we're feeling pretty confident that any person who steps into our facility or around it, that we're going to know they're there. It's pretty hard to get past.
Yeah, I mean, back when they were setting it up, you guys were setting up at Artisan, and Jose got on board. He set up similar parameters around the pools for the Croa side, and they come to my email address when they happen.
Okay, that's good. It's all good.
Cool. Breck, any thoughts that you'd like to share?
I'm kind of neutral on the camera thing. I support kind of Tom's kind of position and the position of the committee previously, so I don't really have any major objections.
Copy. Bill, I know you said a few words on it. Anything else you want to touch on the subject?
Just keep doing what you're doing.
I'll try. I'll fake it till I make it. I appreciate everybody. This is, I touched on baselines earlier. This is our opportunity to kind of collectively baseline, figure out, which way's up, and do so together. And so I'm really excited to just be a part of it, and hopefully, we can, develop a cohesive, ecosystem, of systems that work together, that satisfy all the needs of the community today, set us up for success long term, all that. So, if anybody has any questions or thoughts, don't hesitate to reach out. We have our meeting tomorrow. And then I'll continue to make the rounds as well, until we get into the next phase of discussions.
The only thing I would end on is just my opinion. And I think our community is very different than many other communities, at least ones that I've been to, because we have so many outsiders that come into Celebration. My Lake Evelyn house, there's 1 million people out front. I never know who they are. Right, the pavilion at North Village, it's always filled with people. I never know who they are. These are not our neighbors. These are not people in our community, and we all know what happens during the holidays. So I just think our security levels, whatever that's going to be, I think we should take that into consideration. How many people from outside Celebration are in Celebration, and we appreciate that, right? That they love our community like we do, but I think security is a little more heightened because of that.
No, for all the same reasons, that through septet assessments, it was determined that we need proper barriers downtown. You start with the asset you intend to protect, and then it's concentric circles out from there, and that involves physical barriers, that involves technology, that involves all those different things, and so I think the right overarching intent is all there. We just have to put the pieces together.
Hey, Sean, could you copy us on when your meetings are? I watched the last one, and then the one after that was canceled. We have no idea. We're kind of operating in the blind. We don't know when you're going to have a meeting, so we don't know when to tune in. Like you just said that there's one tomorrow. Like,
Yeah, I'll
we don't
forward
know.
it.
Okay,
I will forward it for sure.
Tom, we can add this committee to the calendar invites just so you have awareness.
Yeah, that would be good to know, just so we can listen to, how it's going.
I can lull you to sleep. Sounds good.
Thanks, Sean. Really appreciate you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
All right, we keep getting rid of people. Good.
All
Okay.
right, I think the next item is Town Hall AV.
Yeah, so Lauren, at the finance committee, they made a comment to us. So we told them we saw Dom gave us a couple presentations and proposals, and they said, whoa, we were told to just bring in the stuff over. So that was just, their impression. I said, nothing's been decided, but yes, that's part of the plan. So I think we know where we go with that. We can work together.
Yeah, so I know for the initial setup for Town Hall, we're just pulling what we have from Heritage over to Town Hall and utilizing that setup. And I think from what we're looking for from this committee is, do we want to stay with that setup until we start seeing, and this is just a really simplified version of it. Do we want to stay with that setup until we start getting complaints? Or do we want to start looking at scalability of that setup and improving it for the future, or somewhere in the middle?
Well, I don't see that those two paths are exclusive. I think we bring over what we have. We're very cost conscious. We're fully tuned into the finance situation. Therefore, we don't really have an alternative and the time because of the timing, but to bring over what we have. But we should just continue. My recommendation is to just stay on the path that we're on. Dom is bringing in vendors. And we review what the offerings are. These guys are experts. And see how we could grow our system into that and try not to do anything which would preclude growing it into that. I don't think we're ever probably going to get the okay for the $25,000 135-inch screens. But the rest of it, there's some pretty good stuff. I was just reviewing the last vendors. I'm trying to avoid saying who that is because anybody can watch these, but it was very consistent with the first guys. And therefore, we're seeing a common thread here as to what direction we think we should be going. And we continue to move in that direction, and we pick a vendor that would be willing to work with us to allow us to grow, rather than try to go for what I'm calling the Big Bang Theory, where we grow everything all at once, which we know we can't afford.
No, that's
Yeah,
great.
and I think it's hard for a group. When we talk about finances, like we're just supposed to be picking out technology and what's the best technology and what's the solution and what's the problem we're trying to fix. And I think we all get that. It's just hard when, like, just sitting in the finance committee listening, Lawrence, to some of those things like the Wyndham owes us $250,000. The other ones, I mean, I was sitting there listening to, like, all these people owe us $250,000 and they're concerned, right? So it's, as a resident, that's important to me, knowing that these people all owe us money and you guys are managing it for us. And then it's like, for Christmas, like, if your parents are struggling there, you don't ask for a lot of Christmas presents, right? So it's hard to detangle that as a tech committee, at least for me. So I kind of apologize to you guys for that we bring it up, but you know, Tom and I got beat up pretty bad. I don't know if you guys did about like Gallagher, like why did it cost so much? I've had dozens of side conversations about that.
Oh,
About
I
why
had
that
a
was
year's
chosen.
worth of finance meetings with that
Yeah.
subject on there.
You know, and I'm friends now with Mike Jackson, but I'm like, he keeps saying digital IDs. I'm like, Mike, it wasn't the digital ID. It was the back end system. That was just a part of it that we got. And we, you know, we were cost conscious as well with that, with the compatibility stuff. So it's just,
And, you
it's
know,
all right.
I think that's where, like, now that we're kind of more stabilized in the committee process and how the committees and management and board all work together, I think that's where we can improve a little bit in terms of management bringing the committees together more, where we have these intersecting interests, where, you know, it would have been good for management to have a tech committee member come into the finance committee and say, this is the reason why we're proposing this. This is why this is the solution that we're recommending. It's, you know, it's not just digital IDs. That was the catchphrase out there, and that was the messaging. But that way you guys can get your thought process in front of the finance committee, and then you have multiple committees together coming to the board and saying, yes, this is a prudent, smart decision. So I think that's where we can continue to improve as a management group for you guys in saying, making sure we're bringing these intersecting ideas together. So that's one of the reasons why Odoo's in front of you. It's one of the reasons why the Lakeside Playground is in front of both MPAC and the Finance Committee and the Rec Committee. So we're trying to improve there.
Yeah. And I used Dom's characterization, and I love it. The Pinto, the Cadillac, and the Ferrari, right? And I think we'd all be happy to walk into A51 and see this great setup and beautiful video and huge screen. But again, it's just, we can't detach, right, the costs to it. So
I asked John to somehow arrange along the lines of what you just said, Lauren. As we had these discussions with the vendors and we talked about the AV system at Town Hall, that we have a finance committee person present during these conversations so they can understand exactly how we get to where we are. It's easy when we're all finished to say, well, I can't believe these guys, you know, put $100,000 on the table, when they don't see the thought process of exactly how you got there. It's a very complex system and involves a lot of hardware. There's a lot of cables. It's very complicated. So maybe they wouldn't understand the technical details, but for sure they would understand that this is complicated. And wow, this is bigger than bigger. And then they could take that message back to their committee and say, hey, we were there. We understand exactly where they're coming from. And they'd be on board with it. So I really am asking that any further discussions that we have with these AV vendors, that we have finance people present, and you guys, Lauren.
Certainly.
You guys.
Yeah.
and
We
Tom,
can
if they
certainly
can't,
get a liaison from the finance committee over to these meetings.
and if they can't, Tom, I'm happy to go back to the finance meeting and share. You know what I mean? I always love getting up and presenting.
So we're
And
waiting
one of the
for
things I guess we can say is, I mean, from a big corporate point of view, is if we come up with these projects, or if there is a request from another committee for something for us to bring out, we can go to the finance committee and say, hey, give us a ballpark number you're allowing us to look at. This way we can give third-party vendors, hey, this is our budget. And we can cut the budget down by 10% and say, this is our budget. Don't go over it. We have a little bit, so we have an idea and a goal of where we can spend the money. This, obviously, the AV, there was no budget. So everyone, every vendor I went to, apart from me, the sole vendor on putting it all together myself on using Yealink, that was the only cheapest option. But all the other vendors, they all came in around about the same, 350,000. Then I said, hey, no way, don't do that. Other vendors have come in around 250 to 225. can you meet us there? And hence Ford AV came back and said, yeah, we can make it at this level. So now we have all the vendors pretty much coming in at about the same price. Granted, if we had a price range of budgetary, yes, then we could have done something different. The only other budget option I had was, as we've spoken, is breaking it down to multiple different separations. Instead of doing all in one go, we do the main room, then we do the secondary room, and then we do the tertiary room. That's the only way we can do cost conscious at this point, until we maybe say, okay, fine, we're going to try something different. And finance says, this is our budget, 150,000. That's it. That's all we're going to spend. Can you give us 3 rooms worth of technology for 150,000? Yeah, that's the only.
Tom, I just have one comment. With when we're talking to the vendors, perhaps we shouldn't kind of disclose like what everyone else is actually coming in at, to actually make sure that their bids are somewhat competitive.
Yes, I mean, I didn't tell them exactly how much, but I gave them a roundabout. This is where we want to go, and this is our level. Can you match? And they all came up with pretty much almost all the same technology. Different vendors of the technology in the back end, but pretty much all the same idea. The type of TVs, the type of room splitting, the types of room appointment schedulers, all pretty much in the same goal. That's pretty much it. So yeah, I mean,
So when
but
is
yes,
it-
I'll take
when
that
is
in
that-
advance.
So we met with two vendors. Is that, we're going between the two, or is there a third vendor
There's a
coming?
third one. Third one is, hold on a second, is for June 1st, which I'll send out the invite tomorrow. She just confirmed that she's able to do to do a meeting in June 1st.
Okay,
So
And
I'll
that'll
just
be
say,
the
after
third.
these 3 meetings that this committee has had with vendors, if there's one that jumps out at you and you say, yep, this is the one we should go with, then we can continue down that path. Otherwise, if you're still not, for lack of a better term, feeling it with those vendors, we can keep looking for additional vendors and bring them in. And we'll make sure that we have finance committee members engaged in those conversations, so they see the thought process behind this. And obviously, we know we're going to have to start small and scale up. And it's not necessarily the finance committee's job to set a budget for you. That's technically the board's, decision. Sorry, one sec.
Yeah, I mean, Bill, I would say it's like, when we get into the new building and the first board meetings there, people will feel the old technology, and then there'll be some conversations and some friction, and say, all right, we've had some vendors in, what's the appetite of, what we can do, and then give them a feel like we can do this level. Again, we can do the Pinto, we can do the Cadillac, we can do the Ferrari. And so to create that friction then to go forward, because I think right now people are just like, just get the old stuff over. Is that the board's feeling too, Bill?
I think from the conversations I've had, we are trying to be as fiscally conservative as we can for a while to get our coffers stocked back up after 851. So I think the appetite for anything big or even medium in the near term, I think this is going to be a 2027 conversation, not a 2026 conversation.
I think we can spend 2026 nailing down what it is in 2027 and define it pretty well, so that when we get to 2027, we can actually implement what it is that we're trying to do. So, I mean, that doesn't sound reasonable. The fact is, I mean, we're already almost in June. We're almost halfway through the year in 2026. So that time frame doesn't scare me. 2027 seems like that's when it would be anyway.
Yeah, it's just about replenishing the coffers to get back to levels that everybody's comfortable with. And maybe, I mean, there's tons of variables, right? If the interest rate goes down and home sales go up, our coffers get replenished faster. We already know that we're going to be having to absorb some of the cost from the cost sharing agreement with Kanoa. That's going to have an impact on our dues for 2027. So there's a lot of factors. But I think in general, just kind of judging where the wind's blowing, it's going to be a little bit before the appetite's there to really, I mean, we've done a lot of updates in the community, splash pad, new vehicles, there's a lot that's been done in this relatively short period. And some of that was just making up for the past, and trying to get us to a more stable footing. I mean, Lauren can tell you from the emails the board gets, some people say we spend too much. Some people say we don't spend enough. It's always this happy medium. But I think walking in on June 10th, 8:51, people are going to be pleasantly surprised, as most of you committee members have seen. So,
is there going to be a grand opening, meeting or something in there?
Yeah, it's on the sign out front. Tom, it says ribbon cutting on the 10th.
Is there going to be something inside?
Yes, there will be something inside. So there'll be a ribbon cutting on June 10th at 5:15, and then we will move inside into the grand hall for a reception. And then after that, at 6:30 p.m., we will do the board workshop.
Okay, so Dom, do we have everything we need to support that initial opening?
It's at Heritage. But eventually, after the board meeting next week, it will be at Town Hall.
Yeah, so we're working on coordinating moving that equipment out of Heritage Hall after tomorrow night's meeting and before mid next week when we move the rest of the team over.
So that's the video and the displays and all that. What about the sound part of it?
The sound will be portable speakers that Parks and Recs is currently using.
Okay.
We'll use that in addition to the TVs.
Okay.
That's the best we can do at this point.
Yeah,
at this time.
Well, I asked that very same question the last time, exactly the same question, and I just want to make sure it would be really bad to have the grand opening and have no sound.
Yeah, it'll be sound. Yeah, I just don't know how much it'll be liked, but there'll be sound.
Okay.
I mean, it's equivalent to what we had leaving the building.
Yeah. Well, no, we had in ceiling speakers when you left the building, and we will not have that now. And it did work. The stuff that was in the ceiling, it wasn't real good, but it was good enough. We won't have any of that reinforcement now.
Correct.
But we can, I'm sure we can get through this. If worse comes to worse, believe me, we have enough sound gear around here that we can bring in something just for that event. As let's call it a donation to the event to make it happen. We have plenty of sound reinforcement that we can bring in there if we want to.
So we have a soft opening on Monday, the 8th, where the front counter will open. And we should already be fully set up in Town Hall. So our intent is to spend the 8th and the 9th, testing that meeting room and making sure we have all the kinks worked out. So
Okay.
if we need emergency help, we'll be calling on that
Yeah,
Monday.
okay, yeah. Well, Bill is the ultimate sound man, so and he can make it happen.
Have your phone on, Bill.
Yeah.
And Lauren, I would say after that, the openings and any negative feedback we get from residents or anybody else, just hold on to that, keep it together, because I think that'll be good to, if that happens, for Dom and us to use to help the investment down the road when the coffers get filled, Bill.
Certainly will.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that was good. Any other comments? Okay. Any of the topics anybody else would like to bring up before we adjourn? Okay, I'll call to adjourn. We have a second.
Second.
All right. Well, Lauren, Jacob, thank you guys so much. And Dom, always appreciate you and look forward to our next meeting.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank
All right,
you.
thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you all.
Okay, night.